Good afternoon. I'm Joseph Harris, and I'm the Director of the National High School Center. Thank you for joining us today for today's webinar, Effectively Using Your Early Warning System Reports, Hints and Tips. Today's presentation is the third in a series of 5 webinars that focus on our early warning intervention and monitoring system implementation process and our early warning system tools. Today's webinar will be archived on our website, www.betterhighschools.org. If you were unable to join us for the first or second presentation in this series, recordings of these sessions have already been archived on the website. I'm joined today by my colleagues Matt Hauenstein, Jenny Scala, and Laura Urhut, who are members of the Center's Early Warning System team. Today's presentation has 2 parts. First, Matt will demonstrate some of the EWS tools reports and how they support the EWIMS implementation process we discussed in the first webinar. Following his presentation, Matt, Jenny, and Laura will take questions through our EWS Community Practice online chat. Directions for accessing the online question section will be provided at that time. So now I'm going to turn it over to Matt so we can get started.
Great, thanks, Joe. As Joe said, my name is Matt Hauenstein, and I work on the Early Warning System team here at the National High School Center. And today I'm going to be walking everyone through how to best use some of the reports that our Early Warning System tool can create, and more importantly, how each of these reports can support the EWIMS implementation process that we discussed in the first webinar in this series. First, just some background information about our EWS tool reports. You can look at data at 3 levels. The school level, which is the entire school, student level, which focuses on subgroups of students, and in the individual student level. Our tools also allow you to break out data in multiple ways, whether it's by time period, grading period at the school, quarter, trimester, semester, student subgroups such as English language learners, students with disabilities or disadvantaged students, and finally by cohort, which is that grouping variable determined at the school, whether you want to create something like feeder middle school, teams, pods, anything like that. You can also break down our reports. Our reports can also break down information by that category. Finally, the reports allow you to monitor student progress in interventions, which is a topic that we'll be discussing in more depth in the upcoming presentations in November. So today I'm going to demonstrate just a couple of these reports. One second while I switch over. So this is a preloaded early warning system tool. We're going to be in this Outputs and Reports section, 3rd bar. The first section in this is the student risk status, which lists all students and the indicators for which they have been flagged across all grading periods. This portion of the Outputs and Reports really corresponds with step 3 of the EWIMS implementation process, which is reviewing the data in the tool. And the most important thing you can remember about this portion of the process is it's important not to get overwhelmed. I've worked with a lot of educators who get to this point, see all of this information, all of the students, all of the flags, and just can't decide how to best move forward to help these students. And so what you really need to remember to do is to break down the data into manageable pieces, because as an aggregate, it's just very difficult. So this report has been designed to allow you to do so, again, by those demographic categories for students that I mentioned, the cohorts, whatever kind of cohort variable you want to create, and also by the time frame, whatever grading periods are in use in your school. And now once you've gone into this process of breaking out data into manageable pieces, you can move on to step 4 of the implementation process, which is to interpret the early warning system data, which you do by using both data in the early warning system tool and also outside sources, which we're going to discuss. And some of the reports that are most helpful for this part of the EWIMS process are the school level reports, the risk indicator summary reports. The one we're going to look at today is for English language learners, again, because it breaks it down into a more manageable group of students. So looking at this report, we're going to move over to quarter 2 because that's where we have some more information on grades, GPA in this sample tool. So looking at this report, you would notice right away that nearly 60% of your English language learners are flagged as at risk for one or more of the indicators used by our tool, and also that the students most at risk seem to be those in beginning ESL or in transition. You see here 5 out of 6 beginning students and 3 out of 4 transitional students are flagged as at risk. So you would use this information to decide what types of external information you really need to get an idea of the causes, the root causes of these students' risk indicators. And a great person to talk to at this point would be the ELL teachers at the school, particularly the ones that deal more with the beginning and the transitional students. And so if you were working through, maybe you go and meet with the beginning ESL teacher, you're discussing each of the specific students that she has and things that she's observed about those students. You can go into what we call the detailed student report, which houses all information the tool has about a particular student. And you can look students up, like I'm about to do here, by their user ID, first name, or last name. So we have here a student, Janice, who's in beginning ESL, you can see here. And when you're discussing with the ELL instructor, maybe they tell you that Janice's problem is really in mathematics, and you go and you talk to her math teacher, who informs you that she's really struggling to grasp a key concept that really is the foundation of all of the math that she's going to be doing this year. And you can see in the report that her struggles in math have shown up here as in her being flagged for course failures and also for GPA. So going back, knowing what you now know, that Janice needs some extra support in math, in particular around this concept, you could go back and you would go and assign Janice to an intervention to help support her. And this process that we've just walked through using this example student is how you would go about step 5 of the process, which is assigning and providing interventions. And the next webinar in this series will focus on the process of selecting appropriate interventions, but I do want to demonstrate just how the tool is capable of assigning students to interventions through this Assign Student to Intervention menu found under the Outputs and Reports. Again, you can pull up a student by their ID. You see we have Janice here. She's not in any interventions. What you would want to do, and hopefully as soon as you realize that she's struggling, but here we may have been too slow because you see she's continuing to be flagged in quarter 4 for both course failures and has actually picked up an additional indicator for behavior. So what you would want to do as soon as you had this discussion with her teachers is assign her to an intervention that supports her area of weakness. So perhaps you assigned her to academic tutoring starting in the beginning of the second quarter around December. And in the comments you might write math tutoring recommended. or something like that. So the next step in the 7-step process is to monitor the students who you've assigned to interventions to ensure that their interventions are continuing to meet their needs. And there are a couple of reports that can facilitate this process, one of which is the intervention summary report, which is a student-level report. Now, what this report does is it lets you look at all of the students who have been assigned to any of the interventions in the tool. Again, these are just example interventions that I've loaded for the purposes of this demonstration. We'll get into how to select the best interventions for your school later in this series. So, for example, if you wanted to see all of the students who had been assigned to academic tutoring, I meant to do attendance monitoring. There they are. And so you can see all of the 6 students who have been assigned to attendance monitoring here in quarter 1, and you can also see the flags that they have. And so what this report can really let you do is see how a student responds to their intervention over time. And again, you have these quarter drop-downs up here, so you could see if a student previously flagged as at risk based on their attendance, who had been assigned to attendance monitoring, had shown any improvement in the quarters following their assignment to this attendance monitoring intervention. And then the final step, 7th step of the process, is to evaluate and refine the entire EWIMS process. And a report that really helps you do that back up at the school level is the enrollment status summary report. So what this report is just a graphical representation of all students who were in the school during this during the year, and it shows you the number of students in each of these 3 categories: enrolled, transferred out or graduated, and dropped out, that are flagged by the tool as at risk. For example, you have your enrolled students. You can see that 63 of the students who are currently enrolled have been flagged as at risk, so approximately 70%. But you can also see that 2 of the students who left the school by either transferring or graduating, the 2 students who did leave the school, were not flagged for any indicators of risk. But you also see here that all 8 of the students who dropped out of the school were flagged either for attendance or academics. So it may be worth going back after these students have dropped out and seeing if they, since they obviously were identified by the tool, seeing how they were supported, if they were supported, if they managed to fall through the cracks, or if perhaps the supports that were used were not effective in bringing them back. So that really concludes the short demonstration of the tool. I know that this is a lot of information that we just threw at you, so in the slides here, let me get back to them. There we go. Here's a list of each of the steps and the reports that we just demonstrated that support each one of these steps. These slides will be archived on our website, again, www.betterhighschools.org, just as a jumping off point for you moving forward in using the reports to support your implementation process. Again, the next two webinars that I've mentioned will be coming up in November 8th, on assigning students to appropriate interventions, and then again on November 27th, progress monitoring through the early warning system tools. Both of these we've touched on a little bit today, but we'll really be examining in a lot more depth in November. You can register at our website, betterhighschools.org, again, where you can find archived information. Other resources, early warning system resources provided by the National High School Center are Community Practice, which we'll be using in just a minute to do the Q&A, community.betterhighschools.org. Our site, again, which has the tools that have been demonstrated throughout this presentation, an implementation guide for people using the tools in both, for implementation guide for setting up the entire system, as well as technical manuals for setting up the tool, and research and reports by the National High School Center. And if you have any questions, you can always email us at ews@betterhighschools.org. Some more information on how to follow the National High School Center. Okay. And now we're going to be moving into the live chat on our community of practice. You should have all received instructions at the email you registered at on how to join the live chat, but if not, you can go to the EWS Community Practice at community.betterhighschools.org, log in with your username or create a login if you haven't already, and navigate to the live chat. It will be in the bottom left. It's two chat bubbles that say EWS Reports, or you can use this URL, community.betterhighschools.org, and the extension. We'll be using the My Chat Roll application, which will show up in the beginning of the page. I hope that you all can join us. We look forward to your questions, and my colleague Laura Urhat will be staying on the line to help out if you have any technical problems joining the live chat.